Good morning and welcome to the Grim. I'm your host, Kristen. On today's episode, we'll be opening the gate and entering the Prazeres Cemetery, located in Lisbon, Portugal. So grab your favorite mug, cozy up, and let's take a dig into history. Tucked away amidst the eerie stillness of the Prazeres Cemetery, where the oldest and most formidable cypress on the Iberian Peninsula stretch their gnarled branches toward the sky, visitors to Lisbon often wander unknowingly into its shadowed depths. While many come seeking a glimpse of the hauntingly beautiful views over the Tagus River, framed by the looming April 25th bridge, few realize they're stepping into a forgotten corner of the city where the air hangs heavy with secrets and the restless whispers of those long gone. The Prazeres Cemetery is not just a final resting place for many Portugal's elite. Its wealthy political figures and celebrated poets, but a sanctuary of art crafted in their memory. A labyrinth of winding avenues is lined with breathtaking sculptures, grand mausoleums, and intricately designed tombstones, each more striking than the last. The cemetery stands apart not merely as a graveyard, but as a gallery of life and death intertwined. Visitors and mourners alike are enveloped by an astonishing array of artistic styles, from neoclassical and romantic to Art Nouveau and Art Deco. The gravestones are not just markers of the dead, they're love letters carved in stone, transformed into powerful expressions of art, meant to endure forever. Testaments not just to those who lived, but to the beauty and tragedy of the lives they left behind. The Prazeres Cemetery is a place where opulence and death are woven together, in an unsettling harmony. Majestic mausoleums, each more intricately designed than the last, stand silent mansions for the dead, adorned with sculptures, stained glass, and elaborate carvings that seem to pulse with life of their own. For those seeking breathtaking views, they find more than they've bargained for, a chilling atmosphere, where each monument tells a unique and often unsettling story of the soul within. Some claim it rivals Paris's Père Lachaise in beauty, but here, amidst the quiet, the weight of history presses in, leaving an impression that lingers long after you've left. The name Brazeres or Cemetery of Pleasures may seem odd for a burial ground, but its dark past gives it a sinister edge. The land was once thought sacred after a miraculous sighting of the Virgin Mary near a spring in the 16th century, leading to construction of a chapel dedicated to Our Lady of Pleasures. The surrounding farmland, initially a peaceful retreat from the city, became a refuge during the times of plague and nobles seeking tranquility from the distance of the chaos of Lisbon, built country homes in the area. Some say the area's name was inspired by the pleasures of a fair held in the grassy fields nearby, until the cholera epidemic of 1833 turned the land into a final resting place for thousands. What was once a haven of peace for the living soon became the eternal home of the dead, where even the nobles who sought pleasure in life would now enjoy it for eternity. Today, the cemetery is enclosed by towering white walls, its iron gate crowned with a cross, a stark reminder that once you enter, you may never truly leave. The main avenue, Cemetery Church Plaza, leads visitors up to the chapel, flanked by imposing mausoleums that seem to whisper their secrets, secrets that are not easily uncovered with a passing glance. Inside the Chapel of Joy, Capella dos Prazeres, you'll find the former autopsy room that's no longer in use and a small museum that was established in 2001. The small but impressive collection features period artifacts, items related to the cult of death, crucifixes, statues of saints, and other intriguing relics, perfect for cemetery enthusiasts and those interested in cemetery symbolism. Among the tombs and graves of Portugal's most prominent figures, writers, politicians, artists, and nobles, the mausoleum of Pedro de Sousa Holstein, Duke of Pamela sits. It's the largest private mausoleum in Europe, a chilling monument to power, wealth, and death. Within its walls, the remains of around 200 individuals, members of the Duke's family, and curiously, two priests lie undisturbed in eternal silence. The exterior of the mausoleum is designed to invoke the cold, cryptic symbolism of a Masonic temple, while inside the chapel is adorned with haunting statues crafted by renowned sculptors like Canova, Teixeira Lopes, and Camels. These lifelike figures placed around the tombs seem almost too real, as though they could rise at any moment. The story behind the Duke's final resting place is as tragic and romantic as it is eerie. The mausoleum exists because of the deep and forbidden love between Alexander de Souza Holstein and Isabella Juliana Montero Pim. Their love story separated for 13 long years by the intervention of the Marquis de Pomba, culminated in a reunion, leading to a marriage that was as much of a triumph of a passion as it was a rebellion against the rigid social order of the time. The Duke's tomb, however, stands as a testament not only to his love, but also for his desire for dominance, an imposing structure that rivals the size of a church. To enter the mausoleum is to step into a realm that feels more like a fortress than a burial ground. The gate swings open, revealing a long, somber path lined with 12 towering cypress trees, their branches like dark sentinels guarding the entrance. The path leads to the Duke's tomb, but before you can reach it, you pass the final resting place of his servants, men on the right and women on the left, a feudal arrangement that mirrors the power dynamics of his life. The Duke, in death as in life, looms over them, a silent master surveying his domain from beyond the grave. Every inch of the mausoleum speaks grandeur, yet there's something unsettling about it. The coldness of its design, the unnatural stillness of the statues, the oppressive silence that seems to press in from every direction. The tombs are not just a memorial to a family, but a grim reminder of a world where life and death are inextricably tied to power, wealth, and the chilling finality of the grave. But for all Prazeres' beauty and grandeur, something feels wrong. The graves are meticulously cared for, but many mausoleums hold dark secrets. Visitors often find themselves drawn to the glass windows of the tombs, where, if you look closely enough, you can see coffins within. Some decayed, other disturbingly well preserved. Not all tombs bear such a sight, but for those that do, the presence of death is uncomfortably close. The windows offer a glimpse into the future, a future some might prefer to avoid, a future where the living become the dead. For those with a fear of funeral spaces, the grounds can be overwhelmingly triggering. The windows of the past, filled with the dust of centuries, seem to invite you to peer into the abyss of time. As visitors walk through the cemetery, an eerie chill often fills the air, inexplicably and unnerving. Some report seeing shadowy figures moving between the tombs, their forms fading in and out of view, while faint whispers seem to echo from unseen corners. Perhaps the souls of the departed have truly never left. Maybe they continue to wander, tethered to the earth by the stones that mark their final resting places. But even as some find the cemetery disturbing, others find an odd peace among its quiet aisles. Despite the decaying coffins and neglected tombs, there are mausoleums here that speak of care, fresh flowers left by mourners, symbols of love and remembrance. The cemetery also serves as a refuge for Lisbon's stray cats, whose presence brings a strange, quiet comfort. They roam the grounds, curling up on benches in the winter or resting beneath the shade of the trees in the summer, perhaps sharing the same tranquil solace as the ghosts that seem to walk alongside them. Whether seen as a peaceful resting place or a lingering reminder of morality, the Prazeres Cemetery leaves an indelible mark on all who enter. For some, it's a serene final home for the city's dead. For others, it's a chilling testament to the blurred boundary between life and death, ever present in the shadow of the graves. Among the cemetery's elite is Jose Luis Constantino Diaz, the first and only Viscount, Count, and Marquis of Belflor. Of the mausoleums and grand tombs, Flores is unmistakably grand but exquisite in beauty. Coming from a family with agricultural roots, he moved to the Portuguese colony of Sao Tome and Principe in 1871. Initially working in a commercial establishment, he soon turned his focus to agriculture, and by 1882 he had acquired the Boa Vista plantation, where he became a successful cocoa producer and trader. His prominence in the colony grew, and he eventually served as the mayor of Sao Tome. In 1893, he married Maria de Carmo Diaz Constantino Ferreira Pinto, the daughter of Elias de Carmo Constantino Ferreira Pinto and Jenny Diaz Constantino. Together they had two children, Jose Luis de la Flor, who succeeded him as the second Marquis of Belflor, and Jenny Ferreira Pinto Diaz. His most enduring mark on Lisbon is the Peasantana Palace Hotel, which occupies the Grand Palace where the Marquis of Villefleur once resided. Originally known as the Carlton Hotel, the building remains a symbol of his wealth and influence. Many photographs taken in Prazeres feature his tomb. Next to the nobles, elite, and presidents are also ordinary citizens of Lisbon. One ordinary concrete slab without the splendor and grandioso is for Portugal's most famous writer and poet, Pessoa. Fernando Antonio Nogueira Pessoa was a Portuguese poet born in Lisbon in 1988. After the death of his father when he was 5, he moved with his mother to Durban, South Africa, where he attended an English school. He returned to Portugal at 13 and eventually studied at the University of Lisbon. Although he published little during his lifetime, Pessoa was a prolific writer, producing extensive works in prose, poetry, criticism, much of which only appeared in journals. Pessoa is best known for creating multiple literary personas, or heteronyms, with distinct voices, styles, and philosophies. His primary heteronyms were Alberto Carrero, a rural poet, Ricardo Reis, a formalist physician, and Alvaro de Campos, a modern engineer. Pessoa himself referred to his own work under his own name as that of an orthonym, a real person. These heredonyms allowed Pessoa to explore different perspectives on identity, aesthetics, philosophy, anticipating postmodern ideas on fluidity and selfhood in authorship. Later in life, he created additional characters, including the semi-hereditim Bernardo Suarez, whose fragmented journal became the Book of Disquietude, a key part of Pessoa's post-humorist literary legacy. Over his lifetime, Pessoa created over 70 hereditams, each with their own biography and worldview. In his magnum opus, The Book of Disquiet, a collage of aphorisms and reflections, crouched in the form of a fictional diary, which he worked on for years but never finished, much less published, Pessoa returns to the same theme. Although these deliberately unconnected impressions, I am indifferent narrator of my biography without events, of my history without a life. These are my confessions, and if I say nothing in them, it's because I have nothing to say. Pessoa died in 1935 of cirrhosis, and his work remained largely unpublished during his lifetime. It wasn't until after his death that his writing gained significant recognition. Critic Harold Bloom included Pessoa in the Western canon as one of the key figures in shaping Western literature. He was interred in Prazeres until 1985 when he was exhumed and transferred to the cloisters of Montero dos Geronimos. He's considered one of the greatest writers of the 21st century of his time. In the shadow of the tombs and mausoleums with all their grandeur, one figure that remains unable to be overshadowed is Amália Rodrigues. Rodrigues was a renowned Portuguese singer and actress, widely considered the voice of Portugal and one of the most brilliant singers of the 21st century. Known as the Queen of Fado, she played a key role in popularizing this traditional Portuguese music genre internationally. Amalia's distinctive voice and performancing, blending Fado with contemporary and international styles, made her one of the most successful and influential artists of her time, with over 30 million albums sold worldwide. Born in Lisbon in 1920, Amalia's early life was marked by poverty, but her extraordinary singing talent emerged at a young age. After performing in local competitions, she quickly gained recognition and launched her career in 1940 with her debut performance. By the mid 1940s, Amelia was already performing internationally, first in Madrid and then cities like Rio de Janeiro, New York, and Paris. She performed in prestigious venues such as Radio City Music Hall and the Olympia in Paris, and was featured in films such as Capra Negras in 1947, one of the biggest successes in Portuguese cinema. Amalia's music transcended national borders, and she sang in multiple languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and English. She was celebrated for her unique interpretation of poems by great Portuguese poets like Luís de Camões and modern lyrics such as David Marão Ferreira. Her contributions to Fado, including innovative songs composed by contemporary musicians, earned her a place as a cultural ambassador for Portugal. Despite her international fame, Amalia's relationship with the Portuguese government was complicated, especially during the Estado Novo regime. Although censored by the regime, she later became a symbol of the 1974 Carnation Revolution, supporting the political changes and even secretly contributing to the Portuguese Communist Party. In her later years, Amália continued to perform and record. Although she faced personal and financial struggles, she was married twice and remained an icon of Portuguese culture until her death in 1999, where she was buried in the Prazeres Cemetery. Amália was honored with a state funeral and later reburied in the National Pantheon alongside other figures of national significance. To this day, she remains one of Portugal's most celebrated cultural figures, known for her artistry, resilience, and role in bringing Fado to the world stage. Among one of the many extravagant graves, one tomb stands out, not large but tall and deeply symbolic. Belonging to Antonio Augusto Carvalho Monteiro, known as Monteiro dos Melos or Monteiro the Millionaire, a Brazilian Portuguese businessman, collector, and Freemason. Monteiro was born in Rio de Janeiro to a Portuguese family. He inherited a vast fortune, which he grew through investments in coffee and precious stones. His wealth enabled him to pursue a wide range of interests, including entomology, bibliophilia, and natural history. A scholar fluent in several languages, Montero was a prominent member of various scientific societies and built an acclaimed collection of butterflies, shells, and rare books, including works by the 16th century poet Camões. Montero's most enduring legacy is La Quinta de la Regueira, a grand estate in Portugal that reflects his eclectic passions, blending Gothic, Renaissance, and Masonic elements. He also founded the Lisbon Zoo with his father. His eccentric personality extended to his personal life with notable items like the highly complex Leroy clock. In his death, Montero's tomb, designed by Luigi Manini, the same architect who designed the palace, stands as a symbol of his life and beliefs. The tomb is adorned with Masonic symbols, including a bee carrying a skull on the door knocker, representing the mason's diligent work. The structure is oriented like a Masonic temple and decorated with motifs of wisdom, eternal sleep, and spiritual sustenance, such as owls and poppies. This crypt, with its layers of symbolism, offers a final, enigmatic statement about Montero's mysterious and symbolic existence. One of the more unsettling sights in the cemetery is the tomb of Professor Alex Lesgard, a native of Toulouse. The significance of this tomb lies not in the man it memorializes, but in the chilling stone figure mourning above it. This stark nude statue is regarded as Lisbon's first and certainly not its last nude funeral sculpture, a touch of French audacity that lingers unnervingly in the shadows. As mentioned earlier, many of the tombs throughout the cemetery belong to famous individuals, and even those that aren't often serve as memorials for wealthy families, resembling chapels in their own right. In some of the streets of the cemetery, you'll find graves of prominent figures, actors, economists, poets, military leaders, often marked with busts. These tombs are enhanced by a modern touch, a QR code that can be scanned with a smartphone to learn more about the person buried there. This area of the cemetery is particularly striking, with imposing sculptured tombs that stand as tribute to the city's brave heroes, such as the monument to the fallen multiple firefighters of Lisbon. It's a step back from the normal surrounding tombs that honestly at first appears like a pile of stone shaped junk. Then, looking closer, you see a cross surrounded by symbolism in a deeply touching tribute to the men who saved lives, running into danger instead of from it. The cemetery is also organized into sections dedicated to various professions, including two writers' sections, a field of artists, the field of public security police, and the field of fire brigade. One of the best viewpoints of the Tagus River is at the back, in the section dedicated to Lisbon's firefighters, known as bombeiros in Portuguese. It's a touching area for those graves that aren't as regal or ornate, but whose presence is even larger than the grand tombs on the ground. It's fitting that their eternal resting grounds feature the best viewpoints of the iconic city of Lisbon they once protected from flames. On the other side of the firefighters section, there's a long, narrow area where plots are reserved for those less well known, allowing them to be buried in this prestigious cemetery. This section, nestled beneath a scenic view of the Patana and the aqueduct of the Campolad, offers a more modest resting place for those who still wish to be laid to rest in this historic and hallowed ground. The cemetery's eerie, otherworldly atmosphere also might be from its many symbolic elements steeped in shadow and mystery. The cemetery's eerie and otherworldly atmosphere also might be from its many symbolic elements steeped in shadow and mystery. Hourglasses marking the fleeting nature of time, standing as chilling reminders of death's inevitability and immortality's cruel grasp. Bat wings carved into the stone seem to flutter in the still air, invoking a silent struggle between good and evil that lingers in the graveyard's forgotten corners. Masonic symbols such as the set square, compass, and all seeing eye are etched into some monuments, hinting at hidden secrets and arcane rituals long buried beneath the earth. The pentagons that crown certain tombs reflect a disturbing perfection, an unsettling union of spirit and matter, as if the very essence of life and death have merged into an unholy balance. Among the most haunting sights is the Tritus Case Monument, where a bird, caught in an eternal moment of despair, pecks at a rose while its claws tighten around a fragile rosebud. A tragic tale immortalized in stone. Dedicated plots for artists and writers dot the cemetery, their final resting places marked by monuments that seem to whisper tales of lives once lived, where public tributes to police officers stand like silent sentinels watching over the dead. The whole place, with its strange symbology and ghostly stillness, feels as though it holds more than just the remains of the departed. It keeps their secrets, their stories, and their restless spirits. A visit to the Prazeres Cemetery is both a profound and moving experience. It's a place where one can honor both the notable and the unknown, admire the intricate beauty of its art and architecture, and feel a deep connection to the enduring spirit of a city that has weathered adversity and emerged stronger. Despite the occasional interruption of the hum of airplanes overhead, the cemetery remains a tranquil haven, where the living can pause and reflect in a timeless corner of Lisbon, looking into the past while living in the present. The grave crime for the Prazeres Cemetery was an espresso from the Café Stella in Lisbon. For more honorary grinds in the area, please visit the-grim.com. For now, we're closing the gate on Prazeres Cemetery. We hope you enjoyed our dig into history. If you did, please leave us a review wherever we're haunting your podcast queue, or subscribe today to join us next time when we open the gate on the Grim.